You know, most people have no idea what it actually takes to escape poverty. It's tough and it's messy, but it is possible. And you can expect some brutal truths here today because we're going to walk you through the full process, step by step, of what it really takes to go from poor to middle class. Welcome to Alux, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. All right. So obviously, before we climb out of poverty, you need to understand what it even is, the reality of poverty. Because the thing is, poverty looks very differently depending on where you live. According to the World Bank, over 700 million people around the world live on less than $2.15 a day, which is considered absolute poverty in low-income countries. But there's still poverty in high-income countries. In the US, over 37 million people live below the poverty line, which means they earn less than $15,060 a year, and for a double-income household, less than $20,340 a year. The rest of the population earns above that, but still, millions more are just one emergency away from dropping below that poverty line. Honestly, though, numbers don't really capture the full weight of poverty. Wherever you live, being poor means you waste hours on unreliable buses and low-paying jobs. It means walking around your neighborhood scared you might get attacked, that you avoid the doctor because you can't afford the bill, that you skip meals so your kids can eat. So it's not just about the money, right? Poverty eats away at your time, your relationships, your safety, and your options. And when you're stuck in that kind of life long enough, you start to believe that's all there is. Now, some people end up in these situations because of their own bad decisions, but unfortunately, sometimes it's just the result of a string of bad luck, or more likely, it's just where you were born. The truth is, you don't get to choose whether you're born into poverty or not. And if it's your starting point, it is not your fault. However, this doesn't mean you can't do something about it. There is a way out, and if you're willing to do the work, the path is clearer than you might think. It is still brutally hard, yes, but it is possible, and that is what we're here to talk about. Going from poor to middle class isn't some kind of magic trick. It simply is a series of brutal truths you need to face and practical steps you need to follow. And it starts off like this. Step number 1 is to heal your relationship with money. Because poverty isn't just not having any money, it's a mindset of either shame or ignorance. Some people, unfortunately, just don't know anything about money, how to get it, or even why it's important, so they just default to thinking that money is the root of all evil. But what goes under the radar much of the time is that a lot of poor people live with an inbuilt shame around money. They're ashamed of needing help, of their bad decisions, or just not knowing what they quote-unquote should already know. And eventually that shame turns into avoidance. They stop opening up their bills, they stop checking their bank account, they stop taking care of their money-related responsibilities because it just provokes fear in them. The problem, of course, is that ignoring your money doesn't make those problems go away, it makes those problems worse. So to escape poverty, the first step is you have to face it head on. You have to stop tying your self-worth to how much or how little money you have. You have to stop believing that money is dirty or only for superficial people or the root of all evil. Because until you unlearn those attitudes, you've got no chance of escaping poverty. Honestly, a lot of people need to hear this, all right? It's okay to want to move up in life. Money is a tool, that's all. And the way you use it is a reflection of the kind of life you want to live. Once you start seeing money this way, you stop wasting it trying to impress people or comfort yourself. And now you can really start to walk the path out of poverty. All right, so the next step after you've fixed your mindset is to fix your environment, right? This is the step most people overlook, but it is absolutely critical. You see, if every day is unpredictable, if the people around you are toxic and destructive, and if you're surrounded by addiction, abuse, or all-around negative people, then no amount of work is going to get you out of poverty. You're just going to keep going around and around in the same cycle. Instead, what you want is to create an environment of stability, a daily routine, a life that you can rely on, okay? Now, this isn't always dramatic, right? Honestly, the foundation is rooted in simple habits. Going to sleep at the same time every night, organizing your space so it's not stressful, planning your meals in advance so you're not scrambling. Then you move on to removing the things that are keeping you stuck. That might mean distancing yourself from people you've known your whole life, but who pull you down, drain your energy, or sabotage your efforts. It might mean moving out of your hometown, even if it's scary, because the opportunities just don't exist where you are. And for some people, it might mean cutting out gambling, drinking, late-night doom scrolling, and all of those bad habits that keep you in a constant spiral of self-sabotage. At this point, it's about doing whatever you can, with whatever you have, to create a calm, semi-predictable life with real opportunity. Admittedly, these are some of the bigger, more consequential moves. You might be cutting off people that you've known your whole life. But it's worth it because when you get your environment back in your control, you can finally focus on your goals, no matter what people who don't want to see you succeed have to say. And so for the first time, your life becomes a place where progress is actually possible. But one of the biggest reasons why people stay stuck in poverty is they never learned how money actually works, right? Let's be honest, they didn't teach this in school, probably not at home either, and you're definitely not getting educated from scrolling on social media alone. That is why we built an app to guide you on your success journey. The Alux App is your all-in-one platform for learning how to manage your money, strengthen your mindset, build better habits, and level up in every area that matters: finance, emotions, relationships, physical health, and even your intellectual growth. We bring in world-class experts and turn their knowledge into easy-to-follow lessons that you can apply instantly in your life. Whether you're building your first emergency fund, figuring out where to invest your savings, or just trying to build a mindset of abundance, the Alux app has the tools to help you do it. If you're serious about taking control of your life and finally making something of yourself, download the app and scan this QR code on screen to get 25% off your yearly plan. Because the truth is, escaping poverty starts with education, and that's the only thing you will always have with you. Now, at this point, you're finally where you can start making some real progress toward escaping poverty, right? Think of it like this. Imagine your financial health is represented by this bucket. Every so often you get some money so the bucket fills up, but every so often you spend money and it gets drained. The key to really making progress is to make sure the bucket is filling up faster than it drains. And that means creating a steady stream that keeps the bucket full, which is why step 3 is securing a reliable source of income. Yep, not the next Amazon, not a side hustle, and definitely not some kind of get-rich-quick scheme you found online, okay? The first thing you need is a steady, reliable paycheck that hits your bank account on time every month. It doesn't really matter if you're working in fast food, manufacturing, cleaning, retail, or whatever, okay? Forget about the status. You need something to put legal money in your bank account every week. That's your goal. Getting your first reliable paycheck is gonna be a game changer, because when your income is unpredictable, everything feels like a crisis, right? One flat tire, an unexpected bill, even a minor medical expense, and the whole system collapses. So your move here is dead simple. Get a job. It might not make you rich, but this step isn't about that, okay? It's not about chasing your passion or changing the world either. It's simply about giving your financial life some semblance of structure again, which means you're finally in a position to build the rest of your life. Now, bringing back our bucket analogy, okay? You've got some water flowing in, that's fantastic. But remember, there are still leaks in the bucket, because when you're poor, it's not always the big things that ruin you. It's the broken toilet you can't afford to fix, the flat tire that cuts you off from your job, or that missed phone bill that throws your whole week into chaos. At this point, life still feels like a series of stupid but constant and costly obstacles. That is why step 4 here is all about eliminating those crises and plugging those leaks for good. These crises can feel overwhelming, right? But once you've got a steady income flowing in, you've got the power to start fixing things. You can finally pay off debt collectors who've been calling you every day, repair the leaking roof that's slowly ruining your home, or replace the tire that's been keeping you from getting to work. For some, the solutions might even be simpler, like finally getting proper identification, opening up your first bank account, or setting up a small emergency fund so no single emergency can ruin your life all of a sudden. Now, these steps might seem kind of small, right? But do not underestimate their impact, because once those leaks are plugged, you'll notice something incredible happening. Your hard-earned income stops disappearing into crisis after crisis, month by month, paycheck by paycheck. Your bucket actually starts to fill up, and for the first time you start to plan beyond just surviving tomorrow. Once you've reached this point, you're ready to start actively building the life you've always imagined. But getting into the nitty-gritty now, the only way to climb out of poverty is to meaningfully increase your income. When you're poor, the only way to do that is to get a job that pays more, and the only way to do that is to increase your income value, and the only way to do that is to learn a valuable skill, and that is step 5. Remember, okay, we're talking about going from poor to middle class here. This isn't about chasing your passion or finding your life's purpose. It's about leaving survival mode behind. So pick something practical that's in demand and that you can learn about in the next 6 to 12 months. Think welding, sales, IT, coding, digital marketing, even trade skills like carpentry and plumbing. Again, it doesn't have to be glamorous, okay? So don't go $80,000 into debt for a degree in fish psychology from Harvard. You're trying to double, triple, or 5x your income without spending the next decade in school. But for the time being, you're going to be spending your time learning relentlessly. You'll watch tutorials, take courses, find mentors, and practice every day, because the more valuable your skill set, the more valuable your time becomes, and the faster you climb out of poverty. So look around, and you'll see that life looks way different than when we started today. You've upgraded your job, your income, and your skills. You're no longer working just to survive. For the first time, you are well on your way to the middle class, and it might even feel like you're already there. But not quite yet. Because here's the thing about the middle class. Honestly, it's a bit of an illusion, but not because it's not real. It's just that it's temporary. Most middle-class people don't stay middle-class very long. They either bounce between just getting by and almost broke again and again, or they basically are guaranteed to swing to the upper class. So the truth is that there is no middle class, only a transitional stage where you either dip back into poverty or you get on the fast track to becoming rich. Now, obviously, you're going to want to be on the rich side of the equation here, right? And to do that, you need to build 2 things: a safety net and a catapult. That's the next step, okay? You've come this far, right? So the last thing you want to do is get wiped out by one bad break. That's why you need the safety net, to protect yourself when life inevitably throws something your way. So this is what a good safety net looks like. You've got 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved up. You've got health insurance, you're keeping your skills sharp and in demand, and you're building a good reputation at work, so you know people who can vouch for you when you need a new job or a second chance. Once you've got this, you've made the chance of dipping back into poverty as low as possible. That's good. But now, how do you also maximize your chances of ascending to the upper class? Well, that is what your catapult is for. So in reality, your catapult is meant to set you up for a long-term financial freedom. Setting that up usually means buying a modest home you can afford and grow into, starting a diversified long-term investment portfolio, some retirement accounts, and even things like building a good credit score. None of it is revolutionary stuff, but that's not the point here, okay? The point of a catapult isn't to get you to yachts and private jets. Remember, we're just going from pure survival to a respectable life here, and this is how you do it. When you've got both of these, a safety net and a catapult, that is when you're no longer afraid of the bottom and you're no longer stuck at the same level, which means you've officially made it to the middle class and you're already on your way to something even better. But what does it actually mean to be middle class? Well, it means your life works. Your rent is paid, your lights stay on, you can afford groceries without checking your bank account 3 times, you've got a stable job, a roof over your head, health insurance, savings, and enough money to handle the random stuff that life throws at you. You're not rich, yet, but you've got plans, and you're in the headspace to make them come to life. You can look at your future and say, this is just the beginning. And in fact, don't forget to subscribe, my friend, because next week we're diving into the next level, how to go from middle class to rich, and you don't want to miss that one. Alright, Aluxer, if you found this video useful, and we hope that you did, drop a like and let us know in the comments where you are in your wealth journey. And if you want to keep on learning, growing, and keep leveling up in all areas of your life, download the Alux app. We're literally helping thousands of people around the world build lives they're proud of, and we would love to have you in there with us. Just scan that QR code on screen, you'll get 25% off on your yearly membership. That's all from us today, my friend. Until next time, take care.